Hey guys, I'm the Lockpicking Patrolman, and this is one of the Lockpicking Patrolman's kitty cats. His name is Aloysius, and he is the cat that's in my profile picture. Anyway, today what we're going to do is not make a cat video, but we're going to make a video on a lock, and I know you've already seen it, this Master Pro Series 7035. That I featured a couple videos ago. However, today the lockpicking lawyer posted a video of picking a Master Pro Series 6852, and it had all standard pins in it. Then he went through showing how to repin it with security pins and make it a little bit more difficult pick. Now, as you remember, this lock and his brother over here that I picked both of, they were chock full of grease and really dirty and nasty and grimy. And today I went through cleaning this guy up. I scraped off the tape that was on the back, scrubbed out the grease, and cleaned him down with good healthy amount of brake cleaner, and I really did make a video of all of it. However, my video editing skills just really couldn't no, I just couldn't do it. So anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pin this up, and I've already got all of the pins and springs and everything laid out here. I also cleaned up the core, shined it up a bit with some steel wool, some brake cleaner and such, so it operates a lot more smoothly now. And so anyway, let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is take the key and go ahead and put it in the plug, and we're going to bring the camera in just a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and populate the key chambers. That's the first step that you follow when repinning a lock. And what you want to do is just drop in the key pins along the way. And this is a 6-pin cord, just like what was in Lockpicking Lawyer's video that he posted today, except for the fact that we're going to put something in this last extra little spot, chamber number 6, and the pin that I found doesn't quite fit, and you can see that when I get the camera to focus. There we go. You can see how he's just not quite tall enough to ride this ride. And so we've got an easy way to fix that, though. And you guys have heard me whine and complain in the past about these little wafers, these little master wafers. However, they do help when you've got a pin that's just a little bit short. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong at all with being short, because I'm short. And so anyway, what I'm also going to do now is just pull the key out carefully. And just real quickly, just check how the driver pins are going to fall with these key pins. And by removing the key and then dropping the driver pins in on top of them, we're going to see how they fit, see how they'll act whenever the lock is locked, and right away you can see that pins 4 and 5, even with the driver pins in there, they're perfectly flush with the shear line. Well, that's not going to do us any good, because that basically gives us just a 4-pin lock instead of a 6-pin lock. And here we are trying to make things more difficult. So what we'll do is these two chambers. Okay. I'll take the, let's see, that was just the key pin, fell out of 5. And I'll run the key in there again. You can see everything's flush. So what I'm going to do is, you can see on my pinning mat here, I've got one wafer here and then 2 tiny little wafers here. And I'm going to go ahead and drop those in. You can drop them into the key slots on the plug, or you can put them in with the driver pins. Really doesn't matter. They'll kind of work the same way from the same spot. So put that in. Make sure he's level. Same with 5. And then drop the second one in with 5. All right, so that should have us with the key cylinders. The key pins and the plug. The next part of the process is to put springs and the driver pins into the Bible of the core. And if you're like me and you kind of get mixed up sometimes, some locks, the front of the lock is the side that's flush. Sometimes the front is the side that has the undercut. Sometimes it has an overcut. And really, guys, the best way to do it is to take a picture, take a video, and share it with all of us. Or you can have a clone of it and see that this is the way that the Bible is supposed to be oriented in relationship to the core. So what we'll do is I'm going to load the springs, and I'm going to load them in backwards, starting with 5. And you'll notice with 5, real quick, I didn't have an extra spring that matched the American cores. So this is actually the spring out of the back of, if I can find it here, kick cylinder. This little retention pin for the cap. Those springs will actually fit down in the chambers of this size core. They do provide a lot more tension than the regular copper springs do. So sometimes you might have a little trouble putting them in and getting the pins in there, and also getting the key to work again. That's also a big deal. Sometimes the key won't work, and so you have to change the position of that steel spring in relationship to the copper springs and the bitting on the key. And that's exactly what I had to do. However, you can still pick these locks. Even if you put the steel spring in the wrong spot, you can still pick it open, disassemble it, and then reassemble it to where the key will work. And what I'm doing is using the follower that Foxy made me. Pushing the pin down into the chamber. Using a little bit of pressure. Forcing it down in there. All right. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the next 5 pins. Should be a little bit easier because the pressure on the copper springs is not as much as what is on the steel spring. Steel springs are a great way to really challenge somebody because they require a lot more pressure to lift up on them when you're picking. Also, the extra spool driver pin that I have that I'm putting in here came from a Masterlock 410, which I have not featured and not had in the background because that was my first and so far only 410. And I made the dreaded mistake of turning it more than 180 degrees. So if you have one of those little plastic body Masterlock tag out locks, please don't turn it more than 180 degrees. If you do, then all the pins will fall out and you will have a cat toy. I managed to save mine from the cats and took the body apart and then salvaged the pieces. And that way I had an extra few spool pins for this size of lock. Alright, so I've got the plug back in there with all the key pins. Got the Bible and the circlip all put together. We'll just try the key real quick. See that it does work. Alright, so let's put this thing back together. I'll run the screw down in here. I was going to replace this retainer screw. However, I just didn't have time to pick any screws of similar size up from the hardware store today. And he's a little bit of a, well, shackle screw. I'll be nice about it. See if we can just knock him down in there. There we go. In these locks, it seems like they like to be at least started